Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In Conversation. I'm David Paulson, and of course, In Conversation is our series of interviews with people in and around Claresholm who have interesting stories to tell. Now, those In Conversations can be seen on our YouTube channel for the Claresholm Public Library, and tonight's conversation is a little different and kind of exciting because there's a couple of differences. First of all, this is the first time that we've had a live viewing audience while we're taping our show. But secondly, this is the first time we've also had a series of guests, not just one, but 4 guests tonight. And that's because this is Welcoming Week in Claresholm. And what we're doing is really saluting those members of our community who came to Claresholm and to Canada from other lands. So let's meet our 4 panelists right now. To my far left is Charantell Cook, who is the Diversity Coordinator for the town of Claresholm. She's been in Canada for 9 years, and she came here from South Africa, a little convoluted, didn't come directly from South Africa. We'll get her to tell that story very shortly, but Charantell, welcome to In Conversation.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Next to Charantell is my good friend Jimmy Mukhaziel, who came from Lebanon in 2009, not directly to Claresholm, but we're awfully glad that you eventually found your way to Claresholm. Jimmy, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
And then we have Jeneline Mandak, who is from the Philippines. She is now a Canadian citizen as of, I think you said 2017. And welcome as well, Jeneline. Nice to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
And finally, to my immediate left is Reverend Jokim Chizanga, who came to us from Zambia. And we're really, really pleased to have you here as well. And thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
So let's start with you, Jokim, if you don't mind. And let's talk a little bit about what brought you to Canada. But before we even get to that, let's talk a little bit about your life in Zambia and how it was there.
Well, that's a very loaded question. I was born and raised in Lusaka, Zambia. I was born in Kasama, which is in the north, and then I was raised in Lusaka. Lusaka is the capital city of Zambia. So I did my elementary school there, and then I did my secondary school, and then I went to Bible college after having worked for a bit. And after that, it was always, I'll talk about the dream that brought me here. But fast forward, 1999, I graduated from Bible school. And after a year, Nancy and I, my wife, we immigrated to Botswana, where we were missionaries for 13 years until we came back to Zambia, which was in 2013. It was after that we processed our coming to Canada, which is a very long story. Yeah, so I'm coming from a family of 9 children. I'm supposed to be the 3rd born, but I'm the first now. Yeah, because we lost the first 2. My mom and dad also, they passed on. So I was raised under very difficult circumstances where you have to look out for the other siblings as well. Yeah, but I'm here now with my family, and it's good to be here.
Well, we're very, very glad that you are here. So, Jeneline, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your experience back in your home country of the Philippines before you came to Canada.
Well, in the Philippines, life is so hard, but it's happy. You know, like Filipinos we experience hardship. And, you know, we are very happy. And even you see, unlike here in Canada, you know, life is so hard. You know, you can have everything. Actually, the difference between Philippines to Canada is that you have to work to pay bills. Unlike in the Philippines, if you have one job, you're happy, and you don't have to worry about financial as long as you have a job. But I came here in Canada from Roger hired me here, and I used to work in the restaurant for 11 years, and I have 9 siblings, so it's 10 of us. Yeah, and my mom and dad is a farmers, and of course they don't have, we don't have money, and so I have to look after myself to go to school, and I am proud for myself that I graduated as a valedictorian. And yeah, so I came here and I became a Canadian citizen in year 2017. And I like here, what I like here in Canada is snow.
Really? I would have
Yeah.
thought that was one of the things you maybe didn't like it, but
Oh, well, because Philippines is very hot country, right? It's very hot. So it's kind of like morning, evening, especially in noontime. So it's very hot. So when I see snow here in Canada, I feel like, oh, wow. That would be so nice to, live in like in a fridge or freezer. Yeah, because like, oh my God, it's so hot. Like,
well, sometimes in Canada it feels like we're in a freezer.
yes, it is.
Yes.
Definitely.
So Jimmy, known of course as Jimmy the Barber,
Yeah.
and as famous as you are, your dog is actually more famous.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I know you know that, but so Jimmy, talk a little bit about life in Beirut in Lebanon before you came to Canada.
Oh, that's exciting. So the reason why I made the decision to move to Canada is because at one point I was stuck for a few hours between two groups fighting and bullets are flying everywhere. So that made it very easy for me to move. And social life is kind of somewhat better because you're around family in Lebanon. But whatever Canada has to offer, no other country will offer, like healthcare, education, safety. You're not gonna die from an explosion walking down the street, and that's the most important things. Like, I look at life differently here. Like, home, I'm at home away from home. So I will never think of going back to my home country and raise a family, but I could see myself raising a family in Canada because you're gonna be wherever it's safe for you and your family and the future of your family.
So growing up in the Middle East, and you talked about it, that would be something that would be very foreign to us, is
Yeah.
the danger, just the day-to-day danger of getting through the day alive.
Yeah, so it's not about day-to-day danger. It's the silent danger that you'll never see it coming. Like, you're going to work like another normal day, and then all of a sudden something would happen, and you're in heaven, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And Charantell, you came about 9 years ago, I think, to Canada. And I said in the introduction that you came from South Africa, but not directly from South Africa. So maybe take us, first of all, talk a little bit about your life in South Africa and leading up to coming to Canada.
Well, I was born and raised in South Africa, and we basically ended up farming. Our main crops were timber. We had some cattle out there and grew some corn and stuff. So, and the place that we lived was called Vryheid, which is based in KwaZulu-Natal, which is probably the thing I miss the most, about 3 hours away from the East Coast, nice warm ocean water. And life there was just like here, but with that element of danger. And it's something you cannot explain to someone worrying about your children every day, watching, keeping an eye out. And that's basically the only big difference. Like, it was a beautiful country. There was opportunity. Family was right there. But raising a family there is not an option. And that's basically why. And so from there onwards, so we took the agriculture, stuff that we loved. So I myself had like a big vegetable garden that I supplied local supermarket. And I... So from there on, we decided after an incident that we had on the farm to move to town, and more bad things happened, and this is where we started looking around at where we could go, which is warm enough, lots of water, good agricultural land, and this is where we ended up going to Republic of Georgia, which is just south of Russia, next to Turkey, Azerbaijan, that area there. And there we stayed for about a year. So we started transferring our lives and found a beautiful place to start farming again. And then the guy decided he doesn't want to sell anymore. And that is basically how we ended up in Canada, because my husband at the time had a friend that lives in Picture Butte, just around the corner here. He's like, come to Canada, it's not so bad, snow is not so cold, and man, was he lying. So it's like, from there onwards is basically how we got here, and we came over with an agricultural project that was also hosted by the government for temporary foreign workers, and that's how I started as a temporary foreign worker, became a resident and also a citizen a few years ago. So that's a joyful story, and I won't ever go back, that's for sure.
So you indicated sort of how Canada became your choice. Was that something that you had ever thought about as you were growing up in South Africa, or even after you'd gone to the Republic of Georgia? Had Canada kind of been on your mind, or did it just suddenly sort of happen?
Not necessarily on my mind, but from about 1994 onwards, the country started changing and thoughts did come up. So what's going to happen? How fast is this going to excel into something beautiful or something that becomes a life threat for your family? And that is what I started looking around with my family. And BC was actually where we were going to go. Not Alberta, because there was like little pockets of nice heated places and gentle weather, which I haven't found yet. But and the other option was also that we looked at was, other than going to Georgia, we looked at Brazil as well. But it's like trouble exists in every country. It's just the depth of violence and corruption that makes the choice different, I would say. It's like it depends on how much you can handle.
Right. Yeah. And so and Jimmy, maybe you can talk about this as well, because, and you kind of alluded to that. Was Canada kind of your first choice, or were you looking at different options when you were thinking, okay, I want to get out of
Canada was the
Lebanon?
only choice.
The only choice.
Yeah, I have two uncles that they immigrated to Montreal about 40 years ago, and they would always send us pictures and cassettes they record and they sent back home, and we put it on the radio and we listened to it, right? And they talked about Canada. So Canada was, I grew up people calling me James the Canadian, because I always had a t-shirt with the Canadian flag on it, you know. So yeah, and to whatever she was saying, you can't have good weather and benefits, you know. It's either or, you know. So we come from good weather countries, but the danger is there, you know. And here we don't have the good weather, but we have everything that matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's as I was saying to Charantell a little earlier, we say here in Alberta that we have two seasons, winter and the Calgary Stampede. Sometimes it feels like that. So. But Jenilyn, now you, on the other hand, you love the whole winter thing. But when did Canada start to percolate in your mind as the destination that you wanted to go to?
Canada is the first choice for me because the first thing is that since I have kids, so it's a choice that you can bring your kids. Unlike in Middle East, you cannot. It's hard, but here it's easy that you can also become a citizen. Yeah, that's the first thing. And the hospital are free, medical are free. So that's the number one thing as well, the benefits here in Canada. Unlike in other country, yeah, so hospital is not free.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Unlike in the Philippines, when you're dead, you're totally dead in death.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to pay everything.
Really? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the number one thing here in Canada is the family, that you can bring the family and you have a free benefits for medical.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, Pastor Jokim, you were studying and you became a missionary and traveled some with that. When did Canada start to loom on the horizon for you?
It was in 1998 when I first visited Canada, specifically Newfoundland. What brought me to Canada was a dream. I grew up with my mom and my dad. They were farmers in a farming community like Clareson. My dad used to be a tobacco farmer, so the Tobacco Board of Zambia would hire him on a yearly basis to cultivate tobacco for them. So I remember as little as 4 years old, my mom used to speak over my life. She would say in the indigenous language, this child is destined to become a priest. My mom never knew God. She never stepped foot in church, but she used to say those words. So growing up, I left my mom and dad and got adopted into my uncle's family when I was 7 years old. And in that family was my cousin Edward, who is now passed on. So Edward used to have a recurring dream. And the same dream, I used to have the same as well. I used to have a dream every so often where I saw myself as the minority, a person of color among white people. And Edward also used to have that same dream. Three times a month he would come to me, Jokim, again, I saw you in a dream. I didn't know where that was going to lead, but as young as when I was in the 6th grade, it became so real within me that I will not live in my country all of my life. There's coming a time when I shall leave. I didn't know what I was talking about, but it was just there. So fast forward, gave my life to the Lord, went to the Bible school, and I continued to pray, and it was growing stronger. So the Bible school attended, I did a bachelor's degree for 4 years. So the tradition was, when you are a couple of months before graduation, you are invited by the faculty to come and give them your vision. In other words, they want to know, after this training we have given you, where do you feel you want to go and do ministry? I remember what I told them. It was very systematic. I said, that was in 1997. I said, I see myself after graduation pastoring in my country for a short while. And thereafter, I will immigrate to another country in Southern Africa. I had in mind South Africa and Botswana. And then I said, after that, I will go to the ends of the earth. That ends of the earth was the dream that I used to have, where I am the minority in the midst of white people. So it came to pass that when I met Nancy finally and we fell in love, I told her, I said, if you will marry me, it must be on one condition. I'm not going to live in this country much of my life. I will fly away somewhere. Then she said, oh, yes, me too. I mean, I'll follow you wherever you go. So in 1998, I was part of a 4-man delegation that was invited to Canada. This was a delegation from my denomination, which is called Pentecostal Assemblies of God, Zambia. So the people invited were the general superintendent of the denomination, the principal for the Bible school, the director for Christian education, and one student. So I happened to be chosen September 98, and I came. So in Newfoundland, speaking in different churches, also doing radio interviews, and also teaching on Zambian culture to Labrador College yet. We invited to do that. We did what we did. During the tours that we were doing, that's when it became very clear, that was in October 1998, that the dream I have had, where I've seen myself as the minority, it is this country. So I narrowed it down, now I knew. But then it took another 17 years before that dream came to pass. Because I went back to Zambia. A year later, I got married to Nancy. And then we served in Zambia for 1 year. Then after that, we immigrated to Botswana, where we were there for 13 years. After 13 years, we came back to Zambia, there to mix with the family and just get to see our country again. It was during that time, which was 2013, 2014, I started processing my coming. So I came and I was a student. I wanted to come to Canada, first of all, to learn the culture. I wanted to get the training that would give me skills to be a pastor, not just in a local church, but in other institutions as well, to broaden my skills. So I looked for a program and I found one. It's called Public and Pastoral Leadership. And it was only being offered in Vancouver, which was Vancouver School of Theology and Vancouver General Hospital. So I applied for that, and I had to go through a rigorous kind of interview because they want to make sure they are bringing the right people into this program. So I got accepted, and in the spring of 2015, that's when I came. So I had to be here for 3 years, during which I only saw my family once. And graduated in 2017. Nancy was there. So we prayed together now. I'd finished my training. Where are we going? So we prayed about it, and we had a few offers in BC and one here in Clareson. And things led here. And that's how we came. So we became permanent residents in May this year, which is just a couple of months ago.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful. That's wonderful. So, gentlemen, just to kind of change directions a little bit. Now, how did Claresholm become your destination? You talked about Canada, but how did you get to Claresholm?
Actually, we applied in agency, and then Roger Reed, who owns
Oh,
the
of
Tim
course.
Hortons,
Yes.
so he hired Filipino worker in the agency where I applied for, and that's where I came in here in Claresholm.
Okay.
But I've been trying to apply in different location, but then that was way before I don't have driver's license, and some of the employer are required us to have a driver's license.
Right.
Yeah, that's why okay, I'm so lucky that Roger picked me one of the applicants in Mercan, like in the Philippines.
So let me throw this question at you. And now you've talked about all of the really good things about Canada and Alberta and Claresholm, and I'm surprised that winter is one of those good things that you chose. But having said that, is there any one thing about Canada that hasn't been that great since you've come here?
The only thing is the stress.
Okay, so talk about that.
The stress is, of course, you are away from your family, and you don't have anybody here that support you when you have a problem or emotionally, right?
Okay.
Yeah, here you can have everything, but you don't have the ambience of having a family, besides you, especially when you are sick, when you are down.
Yeah.
So that's the time that you are really need someone to be with you.
Right.
Yeah, aside from, of course, your partner, right?
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, it's something that you have to keep working and working and working as usual to pay bills.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of
unlike
course.
in the Philippines, you have one job, you're okay,
Yeah.
and you are happy. Yeah, here we have to keep working
Yeah,
and make
I know.
extra amount of money to
Okay.
pay bills and taxes.
Oh, that is
Well, that's the truth here,
And
right?
it's very hard. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
very hard. Yeah, I work 3 jobs, so.
I know you do. Tell us what the 3 are, because you told me
So
before.
in the morning, I work as a manager in ADAC. So I manage the cafeteria, and then I also after that I do permanent makeup or laser, facial. So it's kind of more on beauty stuff here in Claresholm. And then at nighttime, I do cleaning for office and banks, and sometimes houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you ever sleep or?
That's a big question. Yeah, I have 5 hours sleep at night, so
And you've
at
got
least.
kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Jimmy,
Hey.
coming out of that, your life looks like a dream, my friend.
Oh yeah, for sure. I got one job
One-
to make
one
everybody
dog, one
look
dog.
good, and that's it.
So, but Jimmy, you came from a tough
Tough
background,
environment.
a tough country.
Yeah.
And I know you love Canada because you've talked about that openly a lot.
Yeah.
But I want to throw the same question at you. Is there that one thing about Canada that you're not crazy about?
It's not about Canada. It's about the situation in Canada.
Okay. And
When
that is?
loneliness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it for me. Everything else is positive about this negative part. And sometimes, like in the down times, like when COVID hits first,
Right.
at the beginning, and you're not sure what the heck you want to do, and you don't have any savings because you're dumb enough to spend all your income. And then you realize, oh, what I'm going to do now? There is nobody to support me, and I don't know where I'm going to fall. And then that's when you realize that you need to fill that gap. But other than that, I'm happy. Besides that gap need to be filled.
Yeah. Now you're going back to Lebanon
Yes.
here quite soon.
In 10 days.
So,
Wow.
do you think about that in terms of like, is that a good idea? I mean, obviously.
Well, every time I go back home, I get arrested at the airport, and then they release me because there is no freedom of speech back home, right?
Right.
And I speak up my mind in Canada, thinking they're not gonna know about it back home, and then they know about it,
Really?
and that's not a good thing. Yeah. So it worries me to go back and visit, but it's easier to go. One person go visit like 10 people than 10 people coming to visit one person.
Right.
It's cheaper. Otherwise, I'm gonna pay. So it's cheaper if I pay for myself than pay for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shar, you've lived in 3 different countries now, and you've encountered a lot of different things. I'm going to throw that same thing at you because all of you have talked about the positives of Canada, Alberta, Claire's home. Is there that one negative thing that's been troubling for you?
I would say it's Costco. It's like you go in there with expectations of just filling a cart and you're actually buying half a house of stuff and you don't know where to put it all. It's like it's very deceiving. No, but otherwise it's the same thing. It's the family, the loneliness. Like I have a little niece at home that I haven't even met yet. So hopefully I get to see her soon. And the snow shovel, like I just cannot become friends with that thing. Like I tried, like sometimes it's okay, when everybody is like, I need food, I am hungry, then you escape, you grab the shovel. It's like, I got snow shoveling to do, let me move on. But otherwise there's not a whole bunch. Maybe the fact that the ocean is very far away, that kind of bugs me too, because I had the opportunity to go like in 2-3 hours you would be there and spend a weekend and come back. Now you've got to drive a day at least.
Right.
And maybe I would say the roads are boring. It's like everything is straight and there's no potholes, there's no excitement. You'll get the one odd guy that tries to break the speed limit, but it's like you just sit there, listen to a story, listen to your music. There's nothing exciting, and that kind of sucks, but it's also fantastic. I mean, the scariest part would be my daughter's about to get her learner's license, and in South Africa you have to be 18 and you go for your learner's, your license, and you're done. Here it's 14 and parents are put through 2 years of torture trying to teach this child. Nerves are through the roof, and then 16, there they go, they have freedom. So it's like otherwise all is well.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to throw one question to the entire panel, and I'll start with you, Shar, and then each of you I'd like you to give us a little bit of an insight into that. And that is, what's in the future? What do you see coming down the road for Charantell in the next little while? Or do you have particular plans or dreams or things that you want to pursue beyond what you're doing now in Canada?
Well, I would say from arriving here to now, the support that I did not have is a big reason why I changed my career and started looking into diversity coordinator as the end, but who knows where that can take us. I actually went from business owner to youth addiction counselor that I worked in Chizanga Nations, and living and working in that environment also, like, it opened up my gratitude in a way that I have so much more to give because of the resilience that I've been through, and making a career out of it is definitely a future. Like I can see myself growing in this position and helping so many more families just become one and accept where home is. That's probably down the pipeline.
That's great. That's great. Jimmy, I want to get to that, but I want you to tell the story because you told it on the video, the Welcome to Claire's Home video that you were a part of, and so was Pastor Jokim. And that is one of the things that really touched you was how people treated you at Christmas time.
Yes. Yeah, so that story is, when I lived in Calgary, in a big city, for every Christmas night, I'll probably go to church, come home, go to bed early Christmas Day, watch a Christmas movie, and that's about it. And then an opportunity came down in Claire's Home, opened up a shop, and then first Christmas, people asking me, what are you doing for Christmas? Oh, nothing. Oh, come on over. So the first year in Claire's Home, I was invited to 4 Christmas dinners. Wow. And it made me feel like home. And there's another thing I said on a video when they didn't put it, that clip. I was back in my home country. and I got bored from corruption and things bugs you that you don't see. When you miss going back to your home country, you miss the positive, and then when you get there, you realize the negative is way higher than positives. And then I was telling Dad, I want to go back home. He goes to me, "Your home." Is like, "No, Canada's home. I'm visiting my country, my home country, but Canada's home to me now." And I always like to talk about that because this is when I realized where I belong in Canada. And for what was the question?
Well, the other part of the question is kind of the future. What do you see in Jimmy's future? More of the same, or are you?
Well, the dream is to win the lottery, but
how hard can that be, Jimmy?
Yeah, but reality is to stand behind that chair, and then, another funny thing is that you get to think about your retirement in Canada. You think 25 years ahead, 20 years ahead, 30 years ahead. And then you say to yourself, I want to retire at age of 50, 60, 65 or whatever. Or I want to work until I'm 80 years old. And back where I come from, you think, am I going to survive tomorrow or not? Mm-hmm. So you don't have that ability to make future plans. Mm-hmm. And that's what some people say, oh, Canada's boring. It's like, Canada's not boring. Canada's safe. And then by safety, you get bored. Well, when you gotta wake up every morning in your home country and look out the balcony, is the car still there or is it stolen? Yeah. That's not boring, that's excitement. I don't like that excitement. Yeah. I want to be excited when somebody cut me off and like, hey, you stop cutting me off. That's what excites me. And then for the future, probably I have a family in Claire's home and then have people over for Christmas. Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, like the normal routine that people would dream of in different countries.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
That's well said, well said.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, now you have 3 jobs, so I'm thinking for the future you should maybe add a couple more jobs. Like you're just not busy enough, What does Gentleman kind of see for the future?
Not much. All I see is I'm happy of what I'm doing right now. But I am more into a permanent makeup artist. There's a lot of permanent makeup artists, but I would like to be known as, one of the famous permanent makeup artists. And I was looking forward to attend more conference, permanent makeup conference in US, but it's kind of COVID, so it's more on virtual. Something like that. It's my passion. So between 3 jobs, this is my passion, to become a permanent makeup artist.
That's terrific. That's great.
And I want to have more houses.
Yeah, of course.
I want to buy more houses. Yeah, for future of, because we are looking forward for, as Jimmy says, that looking for retirement, right? Mm-hmm. The only way is you have to save money, and how to save money for your retirement. Well, it's a one way is to buy, estates, right? So that, just to let it rent, and then, kind of you make money after like 10 years or 15 years. And it's a good thing to use for your retirement.
For sure. Yeah. That's great. So, Pastor Jokim, let's talk a little bit about the future for you. I don't know about your particular church denomination and so on, but in a lot of churches, pastors move from here to there, and often maybe to bigger churches or other communities. Or what are your thoughts as you look down the road for you and your family?
My goal is one, and that is to continue doing the same thing that I'm doing as a pastor of the church and also as a preacher. Now, I come from a tradition where our way of worship is slightly different. When you ask the question as to what is the negative that you experience since you've been in Canada, for me, it's the church culture. The way we worship has created a platform where we get to know God more in depth. So I come with that to this country, and part of my goal in raising the church is to introduce that to Canadians. Canadians are very good, well-meaning, hospitable people. I think that In addition to who Canadians are, a blessing of knowing God in a manner that they haven't known Him before, that's what I would like to do. So I'm going to stick with church. As to whether I'll move from Claresholm or not, I have no idea. Because this work, it's not about, let me go to the big city because things are looking green. No, it's about following the calling. Yeah, you get, as you worship the Lord, as you walk this path of faith, you get to have a sense of understanding as to what to do at a particular time. Literally, you're not living for yourself, but for the needs for which God has called you. So at this particular moment, I'm in this town, and the goal is to get an established church. Our church has gone through so many seasons of hardships. So I would like the Lord to use me, as a leader of the church, to get the church established, to become relevant in the town, to meet the different needs of the people that are in our town. I look forward to that. As to moving, it's not in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, listen, I want to take a moment just to thank all of our panelists. All of you were wonderful tonight and shared some great stories about your lives and what brought you to Canada. And we're so very, very pleased that all four of you have chosen Canada and Claresholm as your homes, because you've certainly contributed greatly to this community. All of you have, and I know you'll continue to do that in the years ahead. And with that, I wonder if I could ask our studio audience if we could applaud our panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we're going to bring this episode of In Conversation to a conclusion. We remind you that you can see this episode and a whole lot of others as well on the YouTube channel for the Claresholm Public Library. I'm David Paulson saying good night, everybody. We'll see you on the next edition of In Conversation.